Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to Astral. This is your reading for the upcoming solar lunar eclipse on 25th of October and 8th of November. I hope this reading will be helpful for you to understand the energies around these eclipses and help you to prep well for the upcoming days, and especially some geographical locations that I'm going to discuss right now will have to be little more careful, and I'm also going to discuss few ways how you can take care of yourself in this upcoming days. So let's get started. So the uh, the zodiac signs and the charts discussed in this reading are sidereal. So the solar eclipse is happening in sidereal Libra 25th of October, and the lunar eclipse is happening in the sidereal zodiac of Aries. It would impact a certain location. Solar eclipse would impact heavily on Nordic countries, Eastern Europe, and entire Russia, Middle East, some parts of North Africa, India, Sri Lanka, and some parts of China. And you can see different shades of yellow. The darker the shade, the more it will impact there, and lighter the shade, less impact will be felt there. So, what I'm seeing here is that those countries where there are darker shades, they have to be little more careful in terms of some kind of upheaval there in a certain way, which I'm going to describe when I get into the solar eclipse chart. And but to my understanding, because I've already seen the chart and I've already analyzed it, I've made my notes. I'm just going to tell you something that the solar eclipse impact is little more milder compared to what the lunar eclipse is going to bring. And let's see where the lunar eclipse is affecting. The lunar eclipse is affecting entire South America, portions of East Canada and Eastern United States in a very heavy way, and then you see the lighter shades of violet. I don't know which color it is. I suppose it is violet, but you in the audience can leave a comment below which color it is for. But yeah, as the shade gets lighter, the impact is less. As the shade is darker, the impact is more, depending on those geographical locations. And lunar eclipse will directly impact your mind, and will directly impact you personally, because it is very much visible on your playing site. Like rest of the Asia, like most of the Asian countries don't get impacted at all. Uh, of course, New Zealand is also impacted by this, but then Australia is not impacted. So Japan is not impacted, and most of the Asian countries are not impacted. So those countries will have milder effects of this lunar eclipse, but because it is not visible to them, they are not affected, because mind perceives what is visible to them. For them, their minds will not perceive the threat. So that is a very different thing altogether. Although it will affect everyone, so a lot of karmic things are going to be. Sorry, this is cutting out from the frame, but then yeah, let it be. Uh, a lot of karmic things will be coming out and would get judged by Saturn during this eclipse season. And this eclipse season will last from 25th of October to April next year, when the next eclipse happens. So it is almost 6 months period where all the past events would be pulled out by Saturn, because Saturn is directly squaring Sun and Moon in both the charts. So I'm going to show you in a while, and it will start judging individuals, countries on what they have done in the past. And if they have done good, they would be rewarded. If they are done bad, they would be punished, or they would be given chance to redeem themselves. So what you can do personally, because it will affect individuals, it will affect countries, it will affect everyone. So I'm going to talk more about countries and political events and all those things uh, on a larger level, and I'll just talk on a broader level because I don't want to get into specifics. Because if I get into specifics, Google might just, or the YouTube algorithm might just remove the video, because that's how the algorithms work these days, and you cannot talk in detail about a lot of things on public platforms. But I'll leave a lot of hints here and there, like my last video. But what individuals can do, this is an assignment or homework for you today or tomorrow. If you are watching this, go out on Google and see when the solar eclipse is going to happen in your geographical location, when the lunar eclipse is going to happen in your geographical location. Try not to do anything on during that time. Try to catch a corner and start chanting some mantra. I'm not talking to meditate, I'm not asking you to meditate, I'm not asking you to do anything specific, but I'm specifically asking you to chant. And don't ask me what to chant, because I won't be the best person to guide you or help you with that. But chant any kind of mantra that is close to your heart, or that is inspiring you at that moment, thinking that you're chanting a mantra to a specific super god or goddess who is divinely connected to the supreme consciousness, a certain form of supreme, because all the gods and goddesses are uh, some form of the supreme consciousness. So you would be directly connected to the supreme consciousness through that form. If you're chanting to Ganesha, then you are connecting to the supreme consciousness through Ganesha. If you're chanting to Vishnu or Shiva, you are going to chant connect to the supreme consciousness through Shiva or Vishnu. Or if you chant to goddess Lakshmi, Saraswati, or Durga, or any other form of god or goddesses, all of them will connect you to the supreme consciousness and show you how to make use of the benefits that are going to come through this karmic judgment in a positive way. Because when positive things happen to few of us, we lose our mind that now we are king and we can do anything. You should cut that ego, cut that pride. And if you are getting punished, how do you redeem yourself from that punishment? The supreme consciousness is quite capable to guide you. So that's the reason why I want you to connect with the higher energy through chanting. So I hope you'll do that. So let's get into the solar eclipse chart. So the solar eclipse is happening in the sign of Libra, which is here, and it is directly impacted by Saturn. So Saturn is squaring with Libra in this chart, and it is also having its 10th aspect. 10th aspect is the aspect of karma for Saturn, and it's going to aspect uh, the relationships that political entities have from one counterpart to another. Like foreign minister of a certain country would have a relationship, political relationship, foreign minister of another country. whether they use that relationship in a very constructive way in the past, no matter who is placed in that position right now, it's going to open up all the past events. Maybe the ministers in the past were some other people, but the legacy follows, right? So whether these relationships were used constructively, whether these relationships were used destructively to destroy each other or to collude together to destroy someone else, all that is going to get opened up in next 6 months, and it's not going to be pleasant on a political level because most of the countries don't work in that way. They see in lot short term gains by uh, creating harm for others. So in that way, only problem is that the innocent people who were never involved in these decision making, apart from electing these individuals, are worstly affected by the decisions taken by the political entities. That's why chanting is important because you may not be directly involved in it, so you need some kind of redemption and you need some kind of protection. That's why chanting is very important. But that is going to be very important thing in the next few months, seeing how uh, these things are impacted. Because the solar eclipse is more impacting on the northern African, European region and Indian subcontinent, and bits of western China, mostly Xinjiang region and all those. I see that a lot of countries here were either politically deprived or they were all little bit oppressed from a lot of Western countries. Now I'm talking about the dark yellow region and the lighter yellow region, which is most of uh, Western Europe, was somewhere to a certain extent being a dummy to take care of a lot of things which was done unthoughtfully without thinking, and now the implications will come that they you might see that a lot of commoners would go out and protest for a lot of things, and that's quite visible in some countries right now, and it will possibly increase because of the stress levels are going to go very high, and there would be a re-evaluation who are your friends and who are not your friends. You might shift the political game completely in next 6 months, like where to part, uh, which where your political loyalty should be, and there would be a big shift in these countries that were marked in the solar eclipse. Also, a lot of country level alignments like United Nations, G7, BRICS, and all those political level alignments would be reevaluated in next 6 months. That is something that is going to come. But on a karmic level, there would be quick fixes and there would be a lot of solutions that nobody wanted or nobody wanted to listen or nobody imagined, but suddenly they would appear and people would like to reorganize themselves. The reason why I'm focusing on reorganization is because Mercury is in Chitra and it's an own sign. Chitra Nakshatra is all about reconstruction, construction of things in a more sophisticated way, which works beautifully. So, Mercury is your mind, Mercury is the friendship that one can have with another. So, a lot of you would, or the nations would, try to reconstruct friendships with the right set of people who can improve the life quality. Although the life quality may not improve, but there would be a change in the perspective which will improve the life quality in a longer run. And this change would be very stressful, which would be next 6 months. Mercury will force you to change a lot of things because it's uniquely placed during this eclipse. Although eclipse is all about Rahu, Ketu, Venus, Sun and Moon, but Venus is also very important this time because Venus is going to be next to Sun and Moon during this solar eclipse. So a lot of comforts would be reevaluated. A lot of uh, dogmatic preconditioning would be reevaluated because Venus likes to be practical and Mercury likes to be quick. So a lot of quick reconstructions of relationships which are more practical and which are more uh, sophisticated and path breaking will be seen in next 6 months in terms of personal relationships or political or national relationships. So be prepared for that. Moving to the lunar eclipse that is happening on 8th of November in most of the places. Again, Saturn is playing a very important role. It is squaring both Sun and Moon, and it has its 10th aspect again on Sun, which is leadership. Directly, Sun is the leadership. So the countries that we discussed in the lunar eclipse chart, leaderships across the countries, which is most of Europe, most of Africa, most of Middle East, would have very tough time in next 6 months. Especially, I suppose Washington DC is in this red zone. I'm not very much savvy, geographically very savvy, so I don't know. But I don't know. So people in United States know much better. There might be a lot of events which not be very good for political leaders out there in next 6 months. Whole of Latin America, I have no understanding about Latin American politics, so I'll not get into deeper side of it. I have some understanding of European politics and Indian politics and bits and pieces of United States politics because United States politics usually have a global effect. So bits and pieces of that. So I would see that there is going to have a devastating effect on some leadership level in these countries, and because United States is also one of the red zones, I see that the impact will be global of that leadership issues. Uh, Again, Saturn is going to judge karmically, and now what I'm seeing here is that because Mercury has changed signs, Mercury has changed. So in the previous chart, Mercury was in Virgo. Now Mercury is also in Libra. So the quick fixes that Mercury can bring, uh, especially in the European countries, or those not even European countries, but mostly in Russia and those Middle Eastern countries and Mongolia, the quick fixes that can be brought during next 6 months in these countries will not be coming in the countries that are affected by lunar eclipse. That quick fix is not there, but still there would be a very radical change, practical change, which would have a lot of practical impact in long run for good, but the change would be so radical that it would be very difficult for people to move out of this radical change. So mind would be overly excited, mind would be overly aggressive for the people here, and, and people would want to create new things or give birth to new ideas which may be very much irrational and which may be very unthoughtful, because I don't see any kind of aspect from Jupiter on these planets. So the problem is that Jupiter is not supporting. Jupiter allows you to go on the side of dharma, to do the rightful thing. Venus forces you to do practical things. Sun forces you to do egoistic things. Mercury is the quick decision maker, but then it's not getting the positive support. And then Rahu is path breaking, and the mind wants to give birth to something very anything which is being brewed right now. And what is being brewed right now is karmic judgment of past actions, and to let go of the egoistic actions in the long run, to face the consequences of past egoistic actions. So it would be a very difficult moment for few people in this places. But talking individually, if you are having your ascendant or moon in Sagittarius, Aries, especially Sagittarius, Aries would have little tough time because of the lunar eclipse, but Sagittarius people might have a good impact in this chaos, and especially Sagittarius people who are living away from their birthplaces. If they are living at least 100, 200 kilometers away from birthplace, and if they are living in a very different country, then even better for Sagittarius people. And for Capricorn people, you might be just careful because some of your important family members or important colleagues might go through lot of changes. Capricorn, now I'm talking about sidereal zodiac. So Capricorn and Cancer people, be very careful about such upheavals. Of course, Aries and Libra are going through a lot of changes because of the eclipse falling these signs. So those people will have a lot of changes. If you have some personal planets, especially in Aries or Libra, you would see a lot of changes going to happen in those aspects of your life, depending on what they represent. For example, somebody might have Venus in their Libra as a personal planet in Libra. For those people, uh, it's just an example. Their relation, if you are a male person having Venus and Libra, you might have transforming aspects about your relationship with your wife. Again, if Venus is your Atma Karka, then it will bring a lot of changes in your own personality, and you would be very much self focused on how you appear in front of others and what are the practical aspects of your life. But if Venus is some other karaka, if Venus represents your parents in the Gemini karakas, then it would have effects on your parents. If Venus has some other kind of aspect, if it represents your cousins or your enemies, it would have a very bad, devastating effect on your enemies, and that might turn out to be good. So it will change for individuals. So that's the reason why I really don't want to get into very specifics about individuals here, but you have to be careful about that. All in all, what I'm seeing here is that it's quite a tough scenario for some countries after 8th of November once the lunar eclipse happens, because it will directly target the financial markets also, because of Saturn being 12th from itself from Aquarius. It will have devastating effect on the financial aspects. So if you can plan something in advance about your finances, it might be a very good idea for you. And do not overspend, do not spend recklessly. uh, Try to save as much as possible. These are the few advices that I'll give for specifically the countries affected by the lunar eclipse. It is very much important for you to be mindful about your finances at this point in time. Apart from that, is there something else that is important? Big world transformations because of Pluto, and these transformations would last for a very long time. Uh, I'm not talking about decades. I'm not talking about. It's going to last for at least 1,000 years. The kind of transformation is Pluto is going to start now, and it is a slow transformation. The transformation will happen in next 10 to 20 years, but it would last for at least thousands of years, in at least 2 to 3 thousand years, because again a solar eclipse or lunar eclipse has to happen when Pluto is back in this kind of situation, and that would take so many years, because Pluto anyhow would finish its cycle in 270 years. Again, similar situation will happen after, who knows, 3 or 4, 5, 6 cycles. And so that's why I'm saying it would be a transformation that would last for thousands of years. So I think this is a good point where I can end this video, but don't forget to chant. It's very important for you in the coming days. Started from uh, 25th of October, especially during the time of eclipse. And if you can chant every day till 8th of November, 1 hour, any time in when it is convenient to you, please continue. But again, on 8th of November, whenever the lunar eclipse is happening in your location, whether you are affected by it or not, whether you are in that red zone or violet zone, if you are even in the white zone, don't worry about it. Just chant, because collective chanting by a lot of people at different locations will help each other to get out of this energy, will support each other. So it might be a good karma for you in that way. Bye bye. Have a nice day ahead. See you soon. And hopefully, I'll be able to upload a pick a card reading for the coming week very soon.